the flag
Okay.
United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the board meeting of October 15th, 2013. I'd like to remind you there's emergency of the exit at the rear of the building, which is our closest exit. If that exit has been blocked, there's one at the other end. Please go to your vehicles. Please do not leave until so directed by emergency service personnel. Also, it's a non-smoking building, so if we must do it outside. Those clerk.
Yes, good evening, everybody. One approval tonight for the board meeting minutes of September 23rd, 2013.
Motion to accept is presented. Motion. Second. Second. Any changes, deletions, or additions? All in favor? Aye. So carried.
Okay, we also have a request approval to reduce the 2013-14 tax roll in the amount of $3,586.93 due to a change in assessment for property located at 69 East Main Street, Cazzo Pizza, Inc.
Motion. Motion. Second.
Second.
All in favor? So carried.
Request approval to reduce the 2013-14 tax roll in the amount of $592.72 due to a conversion from a two-family dwelling to a one-family dwelling for property located at 21 Northwood Street. That was confirmed by the building department.
Motion. Motion. Second. Second. All in favor? Aye. That's what we like to see. Yeah, sure, more of that.
Okay, approval to the settlement of a tax certiorari proceeding brought by J.M. Furman Realty Corp. for the premises known as 1 West Main Street in an aggregate amount of $25,000.
Motion to accept.
This is just for people's application. This was going back well before he actually, Mr. Furman sold the property, going back from 2003 to 2007-ish. So it's apparently the assessor feels that he's entitled to the award. So I'll make a motion.
Second. Second. All in favor? So carried.
Approve the settlement of a tax certiorari proceeding brought by Fur Smith for the premises known as 17 West Main Street in an aggregate amount of $5,000.
Motion.
Motion.
Second. Second. All in favor? Aye. So carried. Two. Pardon?
Yes, we do, but she's not able to make it. Catherine was on the phone. I should go on to Catherine O'Reilly, the house fire, but I told her we would announce it and then send it to her.
Oh, okay. So the Patchogue Pride Award is, as you know, is for homes or businesses that really kind of take care of their property and improve their properties. This is for Kathleen O'Reilly, 26 Westlake Drive, here in the village. She had a major fire about 18 months ago. Started back of her home, up into the home. She was actually very lucky herself to get out, but she did a wonderful job redoing the property. Village Treasurer, you're up.
Okay, we'll start with the bills. You have the presentation tonight also, but I'll do the simple stuff first. Bills for the period of October 4th through 15th total $398,248.83. The 5 top bills: LIPA $34,054.92. The next one is Town of Brookhaven for salt and sand fees, $29,440. Third one is H&A Landscape for the theater walkway and streetscape, which we will be reimbursed for. That was $22,791.41. Settlement, Ballin, Adler, Mike Capozzi, Jade Land Development, tax certiorari of $18,000. And village refuse disposal, Eastern Resource, $17,106.75. And those total $121,393.08. Like to have approval of the bills.
Motion to accept is presented. Motion. Second.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
So carried.
The other thing I have on the treasurer's schedule is just the cash balances which you have as for your information. Okay, tonight.
Just one other quick comment. There's the town of Brookhaven, the $29,440 is for what we had on hand when the agreement changed with the town. this coming year, many may have seen it, there was an article in the advance about it. We will be sharing, doing a salt, services for sand, or sand services agreement with the county. We'll be plowing the police department and the court parking lots, so we'll be taking care of the median on the spur behind Brian College, the open room. And we'll be taking care of some of the stormwater in exchange for that, which is a non-cash outlay for us, just a matter of manpower doing what they're supposed to do. We'll be getting all of our salt at no charge from the county. So there's a sizable tax savings for us. We don't use about $100,000 a year. And a better resource for the county in terms of use of their manpower and their services. So it makes sense, and it works well, and it's something that Legislator Clark and I put together, and it kind of really works well for us. It should be a sizable savings. I think we have about $100,000 budgeted.
Correct.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. We do have Chris Reno here tonight from our audit firm. He's the partner, our partner in charge of our audit department in Aspen. Chris is going to give us a brief summary of his audit firm.
Good evening.
Chris?
I could just talk loud. Can everybody hear me? Yeah. Okay. All right.
There you go.
Better? Good. Good. All right. Anyway. Okay. First thing we do is we issue opinions on a financial statement. Generally accepted auditing standards. We provide a report that provide reasonable assurance that your financial statements are relatively free of material misstatements. Format of the audit opinion is different this year because of these new clarity standards that came out this year. Years back, there was risk assessment standards that were issued, and these were more of a clarification, which just went into effect this year. So now your letter now has headings on it, and it explains what each paragraph stands for. So we talk about management's responsibilities, auditors' responsibilities. It's the same language, it's just now there's headings to let you know what's there, to make it clearer. So that's what it's going to be. Then we also issue a report on generally accepted government auditing standards, where we report on the internal control over your financial reporting. And then we would report material weaknesses if there were issues with the financial reporting. And there is no material weaknesses to report, so that's clean. And also, main opinion is unqualified, which is the best opinion you can get. Okay. Then we also issue a number of communication letters. The first one is communication to the board as far as our audit process. It's the one that has the bold with underlines in. It's called communication to those in charge. And there we would say if we had any difficulties in the audit, if we had any corrected or uncorrected misstatements where we proposed journal entries, or there were journal entries that the village refused to record, we have to disclose that to you. This is a first for the village, and this is the first that I've done this, where we actually say there were no adjustments to correct misstatements proposed as a result of our audit work. We took her AED, which gets filed with the controller's office, and we work with those numbers, and that's how we began our audit process. And go through all our audit procedures, there were no entries to be made. Sometimes there were some minor ones that would say, so this year there was nothing, so there's nothing as far as journal entries go for this year's audit. Okay. Then we also would have a letter on significant deficiencies and material weaknesses. Obviously, there's no issue closing the books. There's no adjustments. Financial reporting is good, so that letter does not get issued unless there is a significant deficiency or material weakness. Then we find other comments that we just want to communicate to you that don't warrant significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. We put that in something called a management letter, and the first we do is follow up on next year's comments, and then if there were any new comments we would add. Then there's no new comments, it's just addressing some of the old ones, and stating if they're incorrect, they're processed, or they still haven't been corrected. Okay? And then we also issue a report on the Justice Court funds, which is basically a cash report where we start with the beginning balances of the Justice Court funds, monies that were received, and then monies that were paid out either to the state or to the village, which comes to you as revenue. And last but not least, we also issue a separate report called Federal Single Audit, which is specifically to your federal grants. One thing that's new this year is you did receive some FEMA money from Homeland Security. So that's a new category that you have there. Normally you just have the community development block grant from Section 8 housing. So that's new this year because of the hurricanes. And once again, clean opinion on that. And anyway, then I also updated the schedule that I distributed last year as far as the activity of your fund balance. We started up your unassigned fund balance, which is what's left over after what's been appropriated for next year and if you have any reserves. And when we were here last year, we were at 30.6% of the next year's budget was what you had retained to use for future purposes. This year, we had another successful year, and we actually bumped that number up from 3.4 million to almost 3.8. So now you're roughly 33% of your next year's budget. So considering, with a lot of the, government entities out there, subject to the tax caps and the cuts and aid and rising costs, we're in a pretty decent financial condition at most at this point. So, anyway, so that's the reports, that's the audit. Just going to open it to questions. If anybody has questions on anything on the financial statements or the management letter.
Yeah, what made up the increase this year on surplus?
We had 5 revenue accounts that were quite a bit over what we had budgeted. The majority of it being the court funds that came in. We had the money that came back from the courts through our issue in my office with the stolen funds. And we had snow money come back from the town of Brookhaven to reimburse us for that one storm in January or February. And that was the majority of the overages. So it was like $500,000, I think, extra in revenues that we didn't anticipate.
And it's 78,000 in the FEMA aid I was talking about in the single audit report. That was another thing that was not budgeted but came in reimbursed for costs.
What is our expectation this year from FEMA? What do we estimate that they still owe us from Sandy?
We have currently in the pipeline for payments, probably close to $250,000, and that does not include the $1 million for the repair of the dock.
So have you gotten the blue book on the dock?
I have not gotten the blue book. I got what's called the PW, which I signed off on agreeing that we would accept the million, whatever it is, right, for the repair. So now that goes back into the system, and then we'll get a blue book, and then we can start the actual work on the dock.
So that million in change is specifically for dock repair?
That is solely to fix the dock. Part of it is to repair it back to pre-existing storm condition, and then there's mitigation funds in there to do the extra work that we wanted to do, which was changing the way the boards were tied into the frame and things like that.
Now, some of that is also Irene money.
The $78,000 that we got in this was Irene money. The Irene money we got for the dock, we had to sign off that we were not taking that money because we did not get started on the project at all. So what they did is they took that money back and then they gave us money for Sandy.
Right.
So actually we got more money, I think, for Sandy because we never got started with the Irene running because the dock washed away in Sandy before we could get started on the Irene.
That was my point, right?
There've been a lot of questions to many of us about why we hadn't started with the dock. And really what it came down to is we weren't going to start anything until we were sure what our reimbursement was going to be from a Sandy reimbursement. And with $1 million and change, we could do it the way we want to do it. My view was that we were going to get into something, do the repairs on it, find out that it was not acceptable to, the FEMA for the way that we're doing this. I think that now, once the money's in hand, do we have, is that reimbursable? We get reimbursed, so we have to be able to have the funds available?
Correct, we have to lay out all the funds first. Then they will come in and inspect what we're doing periodically, and it must follow the scope of work that we've all agreed upon.
Yep.
And basically, if we put one extra screw in the dock that we did not agree upon, the funds will be in jeopardy. So we have to do exactly what that blue book says when we get that blue book.
And I say that because a lot of times people say, why do we carry what we carry in surplus? Because we don't have to borrow now to be able to do this project. There are other communities that have already gotten some of their Sandy money because they didn't have the money to be able to cover the costs to do what they had to get done, because they didn't have any surplus. So my sense always with the surplus is these are the times when you say, having the surplus you have gives you the freedom to do this and not to use it all, and still have funds available if there's another emergency catastrophe, whatever you may want to call it. So we've positioned ourselves financially that we can handle most anything that comes at us right now as a community. But it's
Out of the 3.8 million that's in surplus, how much of that is actually earmarked to be spent? I mean, is that something that we're gonna spend any of that down, or is it money that we have?
We've appropriated a few things this year since June. The computer servers for $35,000. There were a few other things that I can't think of off the top of my head that you've done. Yeah, so maybe 200,000. I don't even think it's been that much that you've appropriated so far this year. Otherwise, the rest of it is still usable.
we have some equipment that we're beginning to look at. And, but again, I'm very conservative when it comes to spending that. I just think it's situations such as what Hurricane Sandy proves our ability to do what we do.
Just one other question that we talked briefly about in the back was the pension obligations from the village, and it seems like it's flattened out a little bit. Do you have any estimate of what that might be for next year at all at this time, or is that too early to tell?
I did look up they gave us a 2015 estimate, but it's really so far out that they're not committing to anything. I would hate to throw a number out there and have it be totally blown out of the water.
There is a service out there that you could use, it's a company called Milliman, where you can go online and actually input the raw data of what you have coming down the pipe based on now, and they can do calculations for you. There's a fee involved. I think it's like maybe $4,000 to $7,000, somewhere in that range, and you can have an actuarial evaluation done to have that looked at, to see and project that out for you.
And it's pretty accurate as an estimate, I mean, based upon current use?
Yeah, all the school districts are doing it, and they're required. And, you know, it's also based on, you know, what they're saying their present value rates are gonna be. I mean, they were using 3%, now they knocked it down to 1.5%, so totally distorted the numbers this year, because all of a sudden that number grew because they lowered the interest rate. So there is some play with the numbers there. So, I mean, it gives you kind of an idea of what your total liability will be, and it's like projected out for 30 years.
Right.
So, you know, that, you know, might be something you may want to look into to do one day. And the comptroller actually promotes the villages doing it. It actually is part of one of the back schedules of that AUD I was talking about, which is the state report, where, you know, they would like you to do that calculation just to see what you have, so.
So we can plan for it and be prepared.
Well, this is the big issue though. You can't, you can plan for it, but you can't. There is no state law or regulation that allows you to fund that right now. You know, all you can fund is like when someone retires, if they have banked sick days or vacation, you can reserve for that, but you can't reserve for these like future health payouts that you're going to be paying for retired employees. There's no legislation on that just yet, but there is some things out there as far as, you know, you can report the liability if you're doing full-blown, what they call gap financial statements. And, you know, like I said, the controller has a back schedule that could be filled out to disclose that information, but then you'd have to incur the cost of having actuarial evaluation done every 3 years with a follow-up update every 2 years in between. That's something to consider.
Millman, you said it was?
It's called Milliman. I can send the information to Ann.
I appreciate it.
And there's some other firms out there too, I can send you a couple. You can look into it, see what you want to do.
You know, it's good to hear that looks like the possibility of flattening out a little bit, because their pension costs over the last 3 or 4 years, we're looking at
Oh, yeah.
over 100,000 a year.
Yeah, it's going up by over 60%.
Yeah, it's crazy.
From 2011, our contribution was $430, and now it's about $675 almost, so it's a big, big jump. And as the mayor pointed out, it's been one of the prime reasons for the increases in our budget over the last few years. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions from the board? And thank you very much, Chris.
Yeah, I
You know
like
what amazes me, Ed? It took 18 years to get a clean lab.
Yeah, finally.
It's been a lot longer than 18, it's 28.
I'd like to thank Chris and his staff for a professional job. Ann and your staff, great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, we don't, financially, wouldn't be in the situation that we're in, the position that we're in, if it wasn't for staff. It wasn't for people with the ability to say no very loudly.
I like to say no.
Remember that.
And Chris, the support that you give him is very much appreciated.
Yeah, and it's all year round. I mean, we're always on the phone. If she needs to come down here, I'm expecting her to come down and help out anyway. Like our next project's gonna be capital projects.
Capital projects,
We're gonna
yeah.
Go through the open projects and see what needs to be done to close them or fund them and just get, that tied out and wrapped up.
I think within our state audit, that was, I think, probably the only area that they could get their hands around. So, I appreciate the support of that.
When I get back, we'll work on it.
Oh, that's right.
If she comes back.
If I come back.
This is a Hawaii trip?
Hawaii, yes.
When are we leaving?
Saturday, right now.
Right.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Chris, thank you very much. Yeah, we should approve. Motion to approve the audit as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, one public hearing tonight. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing be held on Tuesday, October 15th, 6 p.m., 14 Baker Street, Patchogue, New York, by the Village Board of the Incorporated Village of Patchogue, to eliminate the requirement of annual filing for renewal of the senior citizens exemption by senior citizens who have received this exemption on 5 consecutive assessment rolls in accordance with section 467 of the real property tax law. That's a public hearing, and the person interested will be given the opportunity to be heard.
Basically, senior citizens who go for the exemption, which we follow from Cape and Town's policy, they would have to fill out and resubmit on a yearly basis. New documentation and new backup. This allows those that have done it for 5 consecutive years to just have an affidavit that they still own the house. And then, so it really is a way to help out seniors not to have to go through the trials and tribulations of putting together the senior citizen exemption forms.
So once I have the affidavit, they don't need to present that every year?
That-
Provide that once?
No, they never, just provide every year, it's just a
That's all I need to say.
It's a single, I think, notarized. Motion to accept.
Motion.
Second, anybody public to be heard, any board?
My mom.
So if they transfer the ownership of the property, whether it's to a trust or to,
No, trust, it can stay. The trust
Okay.
allows it to stay.
so if the senior citizen has some sort of life tenancy to the property, they can still get that exemption, that they're not required. Like the trust, as long as they're living in the house, they don't have to, okay, so.
They
if
still
they
use
trans-
it as their primary address.
Okay, good, excellent.
Second.
Ready.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Okay. Okay, first thing is how's Dad?
Doing good. He's coming to Patchogue to rehab Friday, hopefully.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Gazala Drive.
That should really drive me crazy.
Yeah, triple bypass.
Yeah, is that what,
Yeah.
was it valve also?
Well, they cleaned up the valves, all the bacteria, when they opened them up,
Oh, really?
and they didn't have to change the valve.
Oh, great. But he had triple bypass.
Yeah.
How's he feeling?
High in the kite. I went there last night, he thought he was in Buffalo last night. Yeah.
Was your answer, I wish you were?
Yeah, and he loves his nurses. He goes,
That's like that.
Off the record.
but he'll be,
Let him know real quick.
yeah, he'll be better soon. Yeah, he'll be, oh yeah.
Very good. Resolution authorizing the village board to participate in Eastern Suffolk BOCES joint municipal bidding program for 2014. Basically, Eastern Suffolk BOCES has a bidding process, and it is everything. In fact, I think down the road here, we're going to be approving something that Parkline Asphalt Maintenance, which will be using Western Suffolk BOCES bids. And New York State just recently passed, I think, legislation that allows us to use any other municipality, state agencies' bids to do work. The one that Jack will be bringing up is for lining parking lots and putting the numbering, asphalt. Joe Dean has a number of times, Superintendent of Highways, a number of times has used Western Suffolk BOCES bids on doors and locks. So it really gives us a larger pool to look from to price things out and to get them done more economically. It is a huge cost saving. A motion?
Motion.
Second? All in favor? Okay. Resolution approving the mapping plan for an out-of-district, out-of-village sewer connection at a property located at 350 East Main Street and authorizing the village attorney to prepare a sewer connection agreement. 350 East Main Street is obviously down on East Main Street. It's the shopping center where the bagel shop is, of course, from Dunkin' Donuts. They're requesting the ability to hook into our sewer line. We have an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Brookhaven, but we've allotted to the town of Brookhaven 100,000 gallons of usage out of our sewer plant. The goal, obviously, is twofold. Number one, it gives us the additional capacity and funds into our system to allow us to, it's a moneymaker for us. It puts more funds in. Secondly, as importantly, if not more importantly, it will hopefully help redevelop the East Main Street corridor and be an environmentally correct way to do things. But a motion to approve the master plan.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Okay.
Do we have any idea how many gallons they're looking to treat there yet? Or is it still, I mean, it's all purposes?
Yeah. I don't know what they-
What has it? It has gallons per day.
How many gallons per day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, you find out, take a look at it. Yeah, it comes out to probably go backwards.
It's like 5,000.
3,000, so like 30,
40, 08, I'll say 07.
that's 30 something.
42.
No, 38 because it's 94,000 and key money at 300 gallons, at $30 a gallon. So, motion second, all in favor? Okay. And a motion to,
So it's really a small fraction of what we delegated to.
oh yeah, yeah, it's very small.
So,
A motion to raise Paul Fuentes' salary to that to be equal to Western Public Safety officers. Paul works in building and housing, he's bilingual, and we'd like to be able to raise his salary. Motion. Second. Second. All in favor? Okay.
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, trustees, Mr. Seal, Treasurer Caustic. Sir, ladies and gentlemen, Dennis Smith with the DAE report. I'm going to start out with a recap of the three applications that I mentioned here once before, and then I'm going to get into an update of the new applications that we are working with the New York Main Street grant. The three projects that were previously mentioned were 6674 East Main Street, which is Rose Jewelers Weiner Shoe Store, or as it's going to be called, David's Shoe Emporium. That's the first project. We have started that project. You probably noticed that on Main Street, the signs came off. We took the front facade down. We're at a little bit of a stalemate now because we ran into a problem with the wall. The wall, the upper portion, the second story part of that wall, was not strong enough to have another facade hung on it. So basically what has to happen is that has to be taken down, rebuilt from the interior, a new block, and then eventually, not eventually, but after that, the facade will be put up there as such. It's just taken a lot longer than we anticipated, and obviously it's going to cost a lot more money. That project started at $130,000, and now it's knocking on $200,000 to get everything done. That's the high end, but still it's way up there. We appropriated a little more in funds for that project to keep it moving and to help it come to fruition. The other projects that I had mentioned previously was 46 East Main Street, which is going to be an exterior facade renovation on three sides, with three exterior walls, and 200 East Main Street. The 46 is yesteryears, for those who may not realize that. And 200 East Main Street is Medi Health Clinic, and we're going to partner with an interior renovation in that building. Both of those are slated to start but in about 2 weeks. Last week, the Grants Approval Committee met. We considered 5 applications. Actually, before that, we had Goldberg, so let me just digress for a minute. Before last week, we pulled via email the project at 85 East Main Street, which is Goldberg's famous table. So he's doing an extensive renovation, particularly to the interior of that store. It's going from a dry location to obviously a wet location. He's spending a considerable amount of money in there, and we did partner with some of the interior renovation. The sheetrocking, the signs on the exterior, the entranceway in the back, and there was also some lighting and electrical that we partnered with. We just took pieces of that project and we helped him along with that. I mean, he's into about $130,000 in that renovation, minus the fixtures. That's just the build out, and of course he's got to put his cases in configuration. So we're partnering with that. The Grants Committee last week agreed to a renovation at 2 East Main Street, which is budget buy and sell. That's going to be complete interior. An exterior renovation, along with a very vigorous interior renovation at 27 East Main Street, which is Mums. An exterior renovation at 178 East Main Street, which is Meyer, Ross, and Hagen, the law firm. He had, I guess it was 3 years ago when he took over the old Madame Urie's, I guess it was a millinery shop back in the day. He had started a renovation on the exterior, but a lot of it still needs to be done. His project, he needs to put about $75,000 more into the rebuilding to bring it back to the glory that it once was. So. We're going to partner $20,000 with him as well. An exterior renovation 208 through 212 East Main Street, which is Finest Fitness. It's to repair the front of his facade in the ether section where it is damaged. And part of that front facade is going to include a block structure as far as a knee wall on the bottom. You're not going to have the ethers on the bottom. Pretty much the projects that we've done, we've tried to put that block on the bottom because it is very stone. It's a stone front. It's very vulnerable down there, and that certainly is a lot better than the ethers. And he's in for new lighting and new signage as well. An exterior renovation, a small one, was approved at 10 South Ocean Avenue, which is the Furman building. And basically, what we're going to do there is, if you look at the windows on the second story, they're good-looking windows, but somewhere along the way, the rounded part, the scallop part, in the middle window on the top was taken out, and there was a painted piece of, for lack of a better term, plywood put in there. So we're going to take, we're going to partner with Joe, and we're going to go back and take that wooden part of the window out and restore them to what they were when they were originally put into the building. So it's going to be all glass on the second floor. It's not going to be wood. I'm sorry.
So you'll be up there on a step ladder himself?
No, I think we told Joe that we'll take care of this, and as long as he signs on top of documents, he can hire somebody to do it. So hopefully, that's what we're gonna do.
Well, he's got 25,000 more to work with.
He'll be a happy man, I'm sure. I'm sure. Those are the applications that we have actually earmarked funds for so far. With what I have just said, we have earmarked $192,500 out of a possible $222,500. We do have one very serious application out there yet, and we're figuring that's going to be the next one in. It's probably going to come in sometime within the next couple of weeks. It's for 124 East Main Street, which is the Olive Tree La Isla building. And they want to do a complete makeover on the front of that facade. I think they want to do, I don't know how much glass it's going to involve. It's going to be a total new look, new signs, new lighting, awnings, and that building, I don't think it's been touched for a while, so it's really a good place to have something done, without a doubt. So assuming that there's going to be another 20,000 that goes that way, that would bring us up to about 212,500. So we will have expended pretty much all, save for $10,000, at least earmarked, assuming that all these projects go to fruition. We will have earmarked $212,500 of the 222,500. So we do have room for a small project.
Do you know what the aggregate amount is of construction to be done? Well, how much?
As far as the leverage on this,
Yes.
I don't have that figure in front of me, but if you take something just like Goldberg's Bagels, where he's going to spend about, I'm not counting his fixtures, but just on the build out, it's about $130,000. We're giving him 20. So that gets counted into the aggregate.
Yeah.
So for the 222,000, I am sure that we will be upwards of a total of $500,000 to $600,000 worth of improvements. So we will double hopefully the seed money that we put in. I'm sure we'll more than double the seed money that we put in. We'll be able to $500,000.
Because I gotta believe that Rose Jewelers and
That's a big project. Yeah, that's a big project.
I think I like also the fact Rose Jewelers has been around for the better part of 70 years. No, Warner Shoes has been around for the better part of 70 years.
Exactly.
Blums has been around.
Blums is 86.
86 years. And even if the Olive Shoes is 30 years, they've been around for the better part of 30, 35 years.
Yes. Yeah.
So some of the older places are taking advantage of it and doing what they need to do.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, I didn't really expend much on Blums, but that project is well over $800,000. We're talking 150 and. How much? I don't know, so your father was saying it could be 150, so I don't know, maybe he was doing some of that.
200 maybe.
Oh, really?
I hope.
Your father didn't tell you what the real number was?
No, the architect said it was 500,000. I said,
Well, I
I
think
didn't
that's
got 500,000.
But at any rate, it's a big project. It's going to be a nice improvement for Blums. Again, with the village for 86 years, through good times and bad, so we're happy to be able to partner with them and make something happen over there as well. So hey, it's taken off nicely. It's exciting. We're getting a lot of things done. Marion tells me that this is really good to have when we look to write the next grant, which I don't know, Marion, the next grant. It's good to have this kind of history behind us, so we'll see when that time comes.
Well,
I
just one other piece too, is when you're talking about finance, fitness, and the Medicaid,
Very helpful.
On that end, we're looking now and coming up with a plan to redo those sidewalks and planters and really straighten out that mess, which will really
Absolutely.
prevent and give words of the trees.
Yeah, can we work on maybe some landscaping?
We do have, and I'm glad you brought up the sidewalks, Mr. Mayor, because I have been working to some degree with Marion on just securing the names and the actual who owns the building and who's going to be responsible for their portion of the sidewalk. I know Marion's been working on it. She's got prices for what has to happen there, and I believe she's got the CDA monies to do that eventually as well. I know Trustee Crean had asked me a question some meetings ago if I could use any of the streetscape monies for the sidewalk repair. It's not an eligible expense. I could not. But with that having been said, we do have streetscape monies that we can put toward landscaping.
Because I took some incredible photographs in Glen Falls, New York, and the way that they have it set up streetscape and the trees and the landscaping is just gorgeous. And,
Well, that
I'll
would-
share the pictures with you, Mary.
I would be interested to see that.
And
because
it's perfect for a wide sidewalk like that.
we have some $15,000 of this grant that will be able to go to streetscapes. So, you know, a nice project like that. I think the last project, we did a lot with the last, we actually did 3 streetscapes projects. But even though they're juvenile trees and shrubs in front of the ironworks across from Briarcliff and the YMCA, you give that a couple of years, it's gonna really look nice. It's
My
really
mother
gonna,
thinks it looks fantastic.
it's gonna accomplish what we wanted to, which is soften up that curve
It's
line.
great.
So, yes, we can. I'd be very anxious and happy to see that. I just want to bring up wayfinding signs because it seems like I've been talking about them for about a year now. And we're not quite done yet, but we're close. There was some issues with some of the sizes, which I know Mary's been working with Jody Simone, who is the contractor that got the contract. CDA is funding that project, as I'm sure everybody knows. And we had a few bumps in the road, but I'm happy to say, I did speak to Jody Simone today. He had to reorder some breakaway posts for the sign, because that's what the specs call for. So those breakaway posts for the signs that they're needed on should be in within the next week. A week from today, tomorrow, which would be somewhere around the 23rd or 4th. Right after that, he can come out here. So Mary and I were talking about it today. We're going to come up with a date, probably the beginning of the next week, like the 28th. And hopefully we can bring that sign program to fruition on the 28th. And all the signs will be up in each lot. Every marker sign that's directing people to various lots will be up. And we can mark that, we can check that project off as complete. So again, hopefully in 2 weeks that will be done. Just in general, everyday things, the hanging baskets, I spoke to Dave Tiffa today. We're still watering them through this week. Next week they're gonna run, and then next Friday or that following Monday, Dave's gonna take them down, and we're gonna put them away for, take them off for the year. We do not want them up there for Halloween, obviously, because we don't want to run the risk of having anything happen that shouldn't happen. So they'll be down before that. And then we'll rethink that for next year, because we really weren't totally happy with what happened this year. So maybe we need to come up with a new product to go in there. I don't know.
What, in the hanging baskets?
Yeah, it just never got out, it started out a little bit weak. We had that really hot period in July, which didn't help, in the first 2 weeks of July. We had a few watering issues with the way they were being watered. We got that corrected. And some of them started to flourish and some of them didn't. So I don't know where the disconnect was, but we'll get it corrected for
I've
next
seen
year.
baskets in other communities that seem much lusher and fuller than what we
Yeah,
usually
Belleville
have.
being one of them.
But usually they look like they're those big new hybrid petunias.
I'm just gonna say.
But I know petunias need a tremendous amount of water, I believe. I think
Well,
you'd have to get them, do we do them every single day?
yeah, that's something that we really can't do. I mean, we try to get them in, if you have severe heat, we try to go as close to that as we can, but every other day is going to be about the best that happens. Simply because we contract DPW people to come in before their shifts. They come in at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and they're on the watering before their shift. So we've got 3 people that were nice enough to do it this year.
The baskets were like this
Yeah.
year, all these pink petunias, they were absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about it. I mean, we have a few months. We're gonna get out there in January and the order in, but
Billy says use artificial.
we'll save on water, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna go that route, but we will look at all options, trustee, believe me. What I would like to do in that light, there was one last thing, and I just want to personally, on behalf of the BID board as well as the Garden Club Beautification Committee, I want to thank John Bojack and Josephine Miller because they did a great job this year in keeping after the planters and what we had out
They
there.
looked fantastic.
John's
They do, and I know John was generating an email
John was the
every week. And
Those
they'd
good
chief
CC me on it.
caretaker.
And I hear about everything that happens. So they were really out there. They gave Paul and Karen, a great hand in doing that, and we do appreciate it. Thank you very much.
I have a question, Dennis.
Yeah.
On the hanging baskets, do they use the crystals that retain water?
Yes, they do.
They do.
Yeah, they do. That's in there. So if it does get saturated, it will hold the water, and we should be able to get a couple of days out of it. Of course, if you have that early July heat wave, but
Right.
that's when you need it, believe me, for a time like that. But we do have that, yes. So again, thank you. We'll take a look at the hang-up baskets for next year. Try to do something a little bit different with that. And I think that's all I have, unless there's any questions for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice job.
Thank you. Mr. Kennedy.
Don? Good evening, everybody. Great to be here. First, I'll start off reports. Tomorrow, a very exciting night for the Chamber of Commerce. It's our annual installation dinner where we install our new board for the upcoming year. I know a lot of you are coming, and hopefully the rest of you can make it as well. As was previously announced, we are honoring our waterfront businesses this year. They're all being honored, and included in that honoree is the Patchogue, Village Patchogue Recreation Department for all the fine work. They probably have the best property on the waterfront, and it's certainly an active participant with the Chamber, and we congratulate them on that and look forward to a great night. Of course, next will be our first annual Harvest Fall Festival on October the 26th. We're really excited about it. We've got really great interest from a lot of local craft vendors. We're going to have a costume parade, a chili and chowder contest on Main Street, farmers market, a lot of antique equipment coming down as well, farming equipment. It should be a great day. And while I'm on that subject about the Fall Festival, I know we've talked about our connection with the activities the Riverfront is doing that same day, and the connection they want to make with their own costume parade earlier in the day to connect them there. I just want to make sure that the approvals and the village is on board and supportive of this. I know obviously this was talked about some kind of rolling stops, or I guess a code enforcement escort at 1 o'clock to get them up to Main Street. And I did get a letter to you guys about that as well. At the same time I did the boat parade running. I just wanted to make sure we had that. And I brought this up, every time we talk about the Fall Festival, I did bring it up. I know, Bill's been Trustee Hill's been at the meetings where this is discussed as well. I just want to make sure that that's still on board.
Well,
So
I have been at the meetings, I do know a lot about it, but in fairness to the board, I haven't seen anything official.
I did send a couple of letters to the village, both mail and email, about 3 weeks ago when, I was brought up. I had a conversation verbally, because I have brought this up, and we understand that we're okay with it. As a matter of fact, it was the mayor's suggestion that we use West Avenue and not South Ocean Avenue, which originally was requested. So I haven't had any feedback knowing if we were okay to go with that.
But in order for me to schedule code enforcement, and we should also talk to the PD, do we have times and?
Yeah, 1 o'clock is when they're going to have everybody, as was on the letter. 1 o'clock is when they're going to meet in the parking lot and head up to Main Street.
At Finn's.
At Finn's, correct.
So,
And then go down to West Avenue.
Honestly, to be honest with you, I didn't even see that part of it.
Okay, I mean, I've been consistently bringing it up, and I understand there's a lot going on, and we have a million requests that we do ask of the village, and always been partnering with us beautifully. Just one thing I did note in my notes that I just didn't know 100% that we had the village commitment on putting that together.
right now, are you asking anything from the village?
Just, I guess, would be a code enforcement escort. I don't even think you need to close the street as much as allow. I don't think it would be something that would be more than a half an hour, if that. I don't know. I mean, depends how many people gather at that point to travel up to West Avenue.
Right.
So if you just split the east side of the median?
Yeah, it could probably just be the one side. I would think you're using the one-way direction that you would use on that. So it would be the east side of West Avenue, and could just go up that way. And I would assume, I guess what we had originally talked about, I guess, was just like a rolling stop, not like a complete closure, as much as at that time they would have, maybe really Division and West is really the only major intersection they would be crossing, and then South Street.
What is the morning function that's going to draw these people?
Each of the restaurants are having a breakfast, they're having free breakfast. Your, Harbor Crab, and Off KTK are providing free breakfast. And asking, and the caveat to the free breakfast is they bring children in their costume. And they're supposed to be picked up at Finn's in the morning. They have a water taxi picking them up at Finn's, bringing them to the various restaurants of their choice, and then at the end, picking them back up at the restaurant and bringing them back to Finn's. And this was the riverfront component of all of this. As you know, as I discussed how as a chamber, we're trying to bring them on board. They had approached us with us from a couple of months ago, and this was the plan that they had provided. We certainly have no problem with them trying to draw more traffic to the festival on Main Street. And as I've said in the past, I've volunteered to kind of be the person to carry the ball on whatever approvals need to be made on anything that is.
What is what were the parameters of the road closure for the Harvest Festival?
West Avenue to Maple,
Okay, so.
What are the hours?
12 to 5. We start at 12. They wouldn't be getting their group to us till like 1:30.
Right. So I make a motion that we approve the Riverfront Committee's request to have a parade from Finn's at 1 o'clock, moving north on West Avenue to join closure of Main Street at West Avenue. Is that really good? So that's where they're gonna come in?
Correct.
Motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
And I thank you, and I apologize about the confusion. I know there's a lot of stuff that's being thrown at you at the same time, and
That's my fault.
no, it's no one's fault. It's no
No,
one's
no,
fault.
it's my fault.
Uh,
Let me on it, Bill. Let me on it, please.
no
Let me
fault.
on.
No
That's your board.
But I appreciate it, I appreciate it. All right, moving along,
Real quick, David, is the
Sure.
26th the same day as the homecoming?
yep,
Yes.
and then, I guess you guys are closing a little, or like at 10?
10:30.
Right, and they're 11 o'clock coming down, 11:30 is when they'll be by, and then the vendors will start setting up for the 12 o'clock. I'll be participating in the homecoming festivities as well. All right, on October the 28th, the Chamber is partnering with with Suffolk County Legislator Rob Calarco and Suffolk County Executive Steve Ballone on what they're billing as a lenders forum, small business lenders forum for people to get some help and guidance on how to best secure some small business loans. It's being done at the Patchogue Theater thanks to the village's support. Unfortunately, it's the same night as the village board meeting, so I might be pulled in a couple directions that night, but it is 6 to 8, October the 28th, and I'm sure we'll be seeing some media about that coming up. And then following that, October 31st, as everybody knows, is Halloween, and the Chamber is continuing its tradition of what we call Halloween happenings, where we encourage families to come to Main Street and do some of their trick-or-treating on Main Street. That takes place to 3 to 6 p.m. And there are participating businesses will either have a decal of a witch, a ghost, or a scarecrow to indicate that they are participating, where children can come in, they dress their costume, receive some treats, and also receive a token. And every child that collects 10 of these tokens can then trade it in for a gift at the Pumpkin Patch. And this year, the Pumpkin Patch is going to be a roast coffee and tea has opened up their place for the Pumpkin Patch, and we're really looking forward to that. And then looking ahead, obviously, is the boat parade. The annual holiday boat parade is scheduled for the 24th. I know that's on the agenda for its formal approval, and I'll certainly stick around if any questions, but that's going to be another great event. This year's theme is a country Christmas is the theme that they chose for this year. And speaking of themes, actually, because I know on November the 30th is following the holiday Christmas parade on Main Street. And I'll have to say the most frequent question we've gotten in the Chamber office the last few weeks is, what's the theme of the Main Street Parade? You know, and I have been directing, of course, the Recreation Department. I don't know if that's, if there is a theme.
The theme for this year's Christmas holiday parade is
Santa's coming to town.
Ready? Dancing with the Claus.
Dancing with the Claus.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you like that?
I wonder if Santa will let us dance with him.
And we're actually, it's interesting because we're waiving our requirement that there be no Santa Clauses in the parade other than the Santa Claus.
There's only one Santa Claus.
Right, but this
Absolutely.
year we're allowing there to be as many Santa Clauses as people want to dance with.
Oh, I don't know, did we talk to Santa Claus about that? I don't know if Santa Claus likes that idea.
Well, I think that everybody loves to dance, so.
I know somebody here has a direct connection to Santa Claus, so hopefully we're talking to him.
I think that it's a Mark, on the left.
I think my father. All right, next after that, actually another exciting initiative that we're just getting going is Small Business Saturday. Everybody might be aware that that same Saturday is the holiday, the Christmas parade. I think some are holidays, some are Christmas. Gotta make sure I get the right names in there. For the Christmas parade on Main Street is also Small Business Saturday. It's an initiative that started about 5 years ago, and I believe American Express was the prime mover on it, to highlight a day for people to shop local for the holidays. So this year, our chamber is partnering with Belport, and we're going to have trolley service between the two communities, a lot of specials in the stores, a special booklet, coupons for the stores as well, and each community is going to, during the day, sponsor some caroling on Main Street and other fun holiday activities on Main Street. Well, no street closure. We don't need the street closed this time. We've done that enough. But there will be a lot of activities in both communities on that day, and we're going to shuttle them back and forth, and I think that's going to be a great event. Oh, and I forgot to mention, this weekend, just doing my duty as partnering with the Riverfront Committee. This weekend starts their Haunted Pirates voyage. That's been seems to be very popular and should be a great event. It's taken off from the Off-Key Tiki, where there'll be a boat ride with a mixed media haunted pirate voyage, and it sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that. And let's see what else we got here. All right, and then the last thing I really want to get into is I always like to end by highlighting some positive news of some of our members. Every year, people are probably aware that the Long Island Press and Bethpage Federal Credit Union does the Best of Long Island. And I'm proud to announce that I don't think there's a village on Long Island that had more nominees than the village of Patchogue, and the greater Patchogue Chamber in general. But I just want to focus here at the village board meeting, just the nominees for in the different categories. We had Blum's, the Patchogue Theater, 89 North, Plaza Mac, the Colony Shop, Brick House Brewery, Rudy's, Weiner Shoes, Rose Jewelers, Richard York Shoes, Rose Coffee and Tea, The Emporium, Off-Key Tiki, Barbecue, Parabel, Harbor Crab, Hoptron Boutique, Blue Point Brewery, William J. O'Neill's, Patchogue Music Store, the YMCA, PRMG, and Lombardi's on the Bay. And the last one I want to mention is probably the most important one. Nominated for Best Chamber of Commerce is the Greater Patchogue Chamber of Commerce. So that's something everybody can vote online until December 15th. If you go to the Long Island Press website, there'll be a place to take you to the page, and I strongly urge everybody to please support and vote for your Patchogue businesses. I'd like to see Patchogue be able to say that we had the most winners in that contest as well.
And you can vote once a day, Dave.
Excuse me?
I believe you can vote once a day.
Yes, you can. I don't like to encourage voting early and often. I used to do that. I don't do that anymore. but yes, you can. Once a day, go and vote. They do allow multiple nominations once a day. And the last thing, and you did mention already about Abe, and he's glad to hear that he's doing well. We did have one other member that we want to wish some good health to, is Larry Fiala took a fall over the weekend and did break her shoulder. Tomorrow she's actually going in for shoulder surgery. She's doing well. She actually stopped by the store today just to check in, even though she's a little bit of pain. Yeah, she was actually at Davis Park. She was over the weekend at Davis Park, and I think tripped on the dock and took a bad fall. But she's in good spirits, and she should be fine. And if she's anything like her mom, Eloise, she'll be back in no time. And unless there's any other questions for me, I'll move on. All right, everybody have a great evening. Thank you very much.
Deputy Mayor. Marion Coed. Coed. Oh.
One more thing I want to mention, and just seeing these individuals, and This morning, we did have a board of directors meeting, and I know the village has been entertaining, a proposal for a tattoo parlor on Main Street. They did come before the board and gave the same presentation to us. I know Jack has really passed it, that he'd like to hear more input from the business community of what our thoughts are and what the business community's thoughts. So we did entertain them. They did a very excellent presentation. Now we're going to be polling both the membership and the board, and hopefully with the next few weeks at least come with a more formal decision of at least where the chamber stands in for or in support or not in support of the application. Well, not so much the application, but in the concept. I know really what we're discussing is tweaking the law that might allow tattoo parlors.
It's not tweaking the law, changing legislation.
Exactly, which I know this is really the main piece that we're looking at too. I mean, the biggest question that came up was certainly, while I think they very much welcome the presentation, and there's no doubt that the presenters have done their homework and are making a very good presentation. The biggest question is like, well, what will that open up floodgates for a lot? And I think, talking to some of the business owners, we have some ideas that we're gonna propose to the village of maybe a way that you could still allow it and still discourage, becoming, overburdened by too many tattoo shops. But on general, certainly, I think it's a well thought out proposal, and they make a very compelling argument that definitely deserves to be entertained, and I think the village is certainly doing that, and we're going to do the same.
When you get your numbers together, get hold of that subcommittee.
Absolutely, I'll definitely put something in writing and send it to Jack and the whole village board of, hopefully, I'm trying to at least before the first meeting in November, to have something for the village to consider from the chamber on that. All right, thank you.
Co-ed, Marion. Co-ed.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Village Clerk, Deputy Mayor, Ron, hi, trustees. Thank you very much for having me. I wanted to just keep the board apprised of what our progress is with the Greater Patchogue Community Organization Active in Disaster. I want to
Give a little
thank
background. Give a little background.
for the Community Organization Active in Disaster. We've been encouraged.
Put together after Hurricane Sandy, correct?
Right. The co-ed, if you recall, was developed in response to the what happened during Sandy. We still have residents who are recovering from the storm. In addition to that, we have a number of most of our residents didn't suffer from the storm, but we've been encouraged by FEMA to develop a community organization that will be active in the event there is another disaster. Because we learned through Sandy that we can use resources and respond to needs quicker, and to coordinate with the first responders to bring resources. And we have such a wonderful volunteer spirit within our community. Patchogue is known for that, and we've done it in so many different areas, and so the co-ed is an extension of that. The core values are to collaborate, cooperate, communicate, and coordinate our response. And we've been working with the FEMA Voluntary Agency Liaisons, and we've been meeting over the last 3 or 4 months to develop this group. We now have 4 committees. We have a communications committee, we have a training and education, volunteer coordination, and an emotional and spiritual care. So, I've been spending quite a bit of my time, so I wanted to thank the board and the mayor for allowing me to do that work on behalf of our community. Everyone else is volunteer. I volunteer some of my time, but a lot of my time is done through my work as the executive director of the Community Development Agency, and I'm able to do that because the village board has allowed me to. So I want to thank you for that, and for the work that allows me to do for our community. And also I want to thank the board for hiring the part-time person at the community center, because that's where residents meet to discuss and to have a support group, and that was very important to them. For a long time they were meeting in a church, and this allows them to take advantage of our amenities that our community has, and they were very thankful. So I wanted to do, we also are applying for a grant. I just want to let you know, the Long Island Community Foundation is coordinating a grant application. It's 5 funders, are providing a grant for Building Back Better Sandy Relief Fund. And our co-ed is applying to ask for technical assistance. And the vision is to hire a consultant to develop a procedure manual so that no matter who's involved in the co-ed, we will know what to do in the event that there's a disaster. In addition, we're seeking to have funding to hire a outreach coordinator, someone who can strengthen our ties within the co-ed and also extend our ties, get more groups involved, and also reach out to underserved communities or those communities that may not be tied in communication-wise to the information that we have. We've learned through this event that mostly what we need to do is door to door, but we also have an immigrant community here, and we have individuals who have limited English proficiency. So we want to be able to make sure everybody is protected and prepared in the event that there's another disaster, or as FEMA says, when there is another disaster. So I wanted to bring you up to date on the recovery. We've heard from New York State. We had 47 households that applied for the New York Rising Funds. If you're familiar with that, that's a grant fund that's available. And they will help with the rebuilding. That includes the mitigation, the elevating the home, and reimbursing for costs. And it also provides the option for a buyout. I can tell you that the letters just went out last week. So 6,000 letters went out across Long Island to homeowners. And so we'll know, I'm waiting to hear actually after this, I'm going to a meeting, and I'm going to find out how that's actually going to play out. What amounts residents are being offered, what that's going to mean, and how the construction is actually going to happen. So we're going to learn very soon in our community exactly how this program works. And there's more people that need to apply. I know a number of people that still haven't applied and they had damage, or people who had no damage but they're in a flood zone and their insurance rates are going to go up if they don't mitigate. And our goal is to try to get everyone registered so that they can take advantage of this funding. And as the funding works, is it's a grant and there's a lien on the property for 5 years. After 5 years, it's a grant. You don't have to pay it back. If you sell or transfer ownership within that period of time, then you would pay back a proportionate share. So now the anniversary is coming up, and that's kind of why I wanted to address the board tonight. I won't be able to be here on the 28th, but the 29th is the anniversary, and I've asked the residents in the support group what would be an appropriate way to recognize this date. It's a difficult date for many people. They're still, to be honest, still suffering. I think some of them still have PTSD. People are still not in their homes. They're in trailers. We have a resident that's been in a trailer for 12 months. So these are not easy times. We have people that are still living with mold. It's a tough time, but there have been certain successes. There are people who have rebuilt. There are people who are applying and the money's coming through. And we have developed a connection within our community. And those are successes that we should recognize because we are moving forward and we're doing our best as a community. And the village did do a good job at the time of the disaster. We had certain things that we can recognize to say that our community is coming back. We're addressing some, maybe what may have been seen as deficiencies, but we're going to be better. And we're going to be able to deal with this in a more comprehensive fashion because, as you know, because you sit up there, the village government does what it does well, but there are other parts that cannot be addressed by the government, and that's why we have volunteers and service organizations and not-for-profits, and that's the part that we want to play as the co-ed. So with the anniversary, we have two suggestions that are on the table. One is on Sunday the 27th in the afternoon, some volunteers are going to go out and do a door-to-door canvass, make sure that residents are aware of the New York Rising, and that they apply, and just maybe to check in. Because some of the residents feel that even though they've been harmed, they would feel terrible if another disaster happened soon after and they had done nothing to reach out to their neighbors, to help them through, or to prepare them, or to give them information. We have that, and also, we're planning an event on the 29th. And it's not so much an event as a gathering, because it's a time, another community is, Rockaway is doing a Reflect, Recover, and Renew. It's a coffee and conversation. And we want to do the same type of event here so that we can recognize what happened but also acknowledge successes. And that would be on the 29th, location to be determined, but it would be in the evening. And we will use the 27th as a way to get the word out to residents, because there are a lot of people who want to recognize the date, but it's a tough date to recognize, but we want people to be able to come together, to be able to share their experiences and commemorate it or celebrate it, as the case may be.
Well, I just want to get the dates on my calendar. They're on the 27th.
One's the 27th and one's the 29th.
Okay. I'm just writing the same.
Yes.
You'll get me more.
Okay, so I'll send it out to the board when we have the date certain, so that you understand, and we'll let the board be aware of what's happening, and I'll probably be reaching out to Trustee Hilton shortly for some assistance, because we're down in your area. Okay, so is there any questions?
So the 29th, you're not gonna have it at the rec center, is that?
Well, that's what I didn't work out yet. I haven't asked permission yet, and I didn't want to actually put it out there before I've asked, because basically we use it as a
That's for
community
forgiveness.
center. Yeah,
It's for forgiveness.
I'll ask for forgiveness.
Yeah, just do what you're gonna do.
All right, well, then it's the 29th at the rec center. We'll be having just conversation.
What is the night that Green told you we're not allowed?
No, it's the same night that the center is used now.
Oh, okay,
It's not any different, so it doesn't conflict with anything. It'll be
Right.
fine.
cool.
So if we can use that, that would be great. I'd like to. All right, thank you.
Mary, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Needed
Thank you.
support.
Great job.
Mary?
Yes.
Is Tegan working now, or is she?
Tegan is in transition, so I have been in touch with her and hoping to have her back in the next week.
Let's just go a little background on what she's gonna be doing in reference to that.
Tegan has worked as a case manager. She'll be coming in as a part-time clerk, but she does have training as a disaster case manager. She works for Family Service League now, so she's familiar with the resources that individuals need for the recovery. And she'll be in the office to answer any questions or to assist people in reaching out and making connections. And I've been doing that as part of my job, and then Tegan can then expand that. So I think one of the things we've learned is it's really important that the residents know that there's a place to go where they can get information. And I believe that word is getting out now because people are coming to visit me. But I think that, it surprises me, I guess, because I work for the village and I know how open our village hall is, and there's always assistance here, but I think one of the things we'll need to let people know is that, when the village hall is open, please come down. And I think that, this has been a resource throughout the building department, the clerk's department, my department, and I think that we need to remind people of that.
Well, actually, I think it's a great thing that what you're doing, because I'm not gonna say it was criticism, but there was some confusion after the hurricane as to where people could go for information. So I think what you're doing is great.
Thank you. And it is true, there was confusion because the information was confusing.
Right.
Even for those people, because I was part on the phone calls and part of the long-term recovery group, which is part of the Long Island Volunteer Organization Active in Disaster, which is the umbrella organization for Long Island. And they network with the New York State VOAD and the National VOAD. But the information was confusing and they couldn't get it out fast enough. And I think, I'm really glad that we're putting this into place.
Yeah, and we weren't able to do it.
Right. Right. It's a very tough thing because
Right.
we've never been through anything like this
Right,
before.
right.
And now we just want to make sure that the next time we can hit the ground running. We know exactly, we have a procedure manual,
Yeah,
and we
we
can
do,
do
it's
it,
great.
and we can go door to door, and that's really the key, is the communication is key, and unfortunately, there are people who don't have a subscription to the Advance, or don't subscribe to Patch. There are people who aren't connected, they don't go to the village website or on the Facebook. So there are people there who have moved in our community, and we need to let them know. And there are people who just aren't technologically connected.
Right.
So we need to reach those people who still use a rotary phone. Are they still there? Oh, I don't know. But that's my point, is that the door-to-door is key. And I think that's the first thing that we learned, we learned through this. But yes, thank you very much, Trustee Hilton.
Thanks, Mary.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Now.
I'd first like to start off with promoting the Patchogue Theater. This Saturday was Mickey B's
Oh, what a night, another sold-out performance by our friend Mickey D. Every few months has a show, and every one is sold out, and thank Mickey for using Patchogue Theater. Coming up this Saturday night, October 19th, the world-famous Glenn Miller Orchestra. It's a great show, wonderful night, a little sadness at this night because in the past it was hosted by our friend Jack Ellsworth. And of course, Jack is no longer with us, and he will not be gracing our stage as the host of the Glenn Miller Orchestra, and we miss him. On Sunday, October 20th, is the Long Island Brass Guild, Music on Main Street. This is in the lobby. The 27th are the Del Satins, Up Close and Personal. And on Thursday, October 31st is a big day for the Patchogue Theater. It's our first production with concert powerhouse AEG. And if you're familiar with rock concerts and things, AEG is one of the biggest in the world. And it's going to be featuring comic Bo Burnham, who's pretty popular among the younger people. And they're going to be working at our theater, so that's AEG. It's a pretty big deal for the theater to get involved with them. Hopefully it'll bring on future shows. Friday, November 1st is Ireland, the show. Saturday, November 2nd is comedian Vicky Wining's live. And on Sunday, November 3rd, our friends Howard and Linda Beckerman will be presenting the new musicals project, Legend of St. Nicholas. Recently, they had a performance of Life After Life at the theater. If you missed it, you missed a tremendous show. Fabulous production in the lobby. Great songs written by Howard Beckerman, and it was a really wonderful show. And Howard, if you don't know Howard, recently he's been fairly ill. He had some heart valve surgery, but he was a real trooper and got through this whole thing and put the show on. It was a great show. On November 8th, we have Chris McDonald's Memories of Elvis in Concert. Saturday, November 9th is Martin Sexton. It's a great show. Tickets still available. Another terrific show. Trustee Hilton always loves this one. A Sousa Salute to our Armed Forces on Sunday, November 10th. Last year, this show was canceled due to the hurricane. And they're coming back this year. Sunday, 3 o'clock performance, another great show for the Tuesday, November 21st. Our friends at 96.1 Country bring us another sold-out show, Guys with Guitars, a follow-up to Girls with Guitars, which was a sold-out show. And everything they do at the theater, they sell country music. On Saturday, November 6th, celebrating Thanksgiving, is another one of our very good friends at the theater, Arlo Guthrie, who will be performing Alice's Restaurant for the theater-going audience. So,
With Joe.
yes, Joe will be there, I'm sure.
Is that
When is that?
That's November 16th.
Oh, 16.
Right. Another great show, Arlo.
That is a great show.
It is a great show. He's a real legend, and he normally does a great Woody Guthrie sing-along.
Brings the kids.
Yeah, brings his whole family, the kids, and it's a lot of fun. It's a fun show, and he's extremely entertaining. Music on Main Street, Quattrophonium. We replaced tubas with saxophones on November 17th, so this is a follow-up to our saxophone, our tuba show. And then, believe it or not, Sunday, November 24th, starts our holiday season with Clara's Dream the Nutcracker. There are 3 performances during the weekend. Then on December 5th, the Nutcracker Suite comes into the Patchogue Theater for a few performances. And then Jack Frost on December 6th, a family musical. And that's it for the rest of the year. And coming up in next year's Patchogue Pizzazz again, American Acoustic, Starshine. No, Gable's not in there this year. We're doing all the shows now. Yeah.
There's a media show?
No. Gateway used to do that. So those are things that are going
going on at the Patchogue Theater. So check our website out. Tickets are still available for all the shows except for Guys with Guitars. And I thank all the people who support the theater. Again, this past week, I saw David there at Live in Lobby, the incredible Jen Chapin. What a great show, right, David?
It was awesome.
Yeah, she was absolutely fabulous. And what a personality, and a lot of good she does in the community, following in her father's footsteps for feeding the hungry and just plain old good old political activism. She had quite a bit to say about the government closing. And some of it cannot be repeated here in mixed company. But she was fabulous. She was very good show. Thank you for letting me entertain everybody. And I apologize for my casual dress today, but I've had the opportunity to take a beautiful ride up the Carmen's River. And I got to tell you, it is one of the most beautiful areas on Long Island, and we should do everything we can to preserve and protect it in the future. I'd like to request approval to hire Parkline Asphalt Maintenance, Inc. to paint pavement markings and numbers on Main Street, South Ocean Avenue, and Railroad Avenue in an amount not to exceed $9,700. Parkline is on our contract with Western Suffolk BOCES. Before we continue with that one, this is part of the parking meter plan which we are going to launch on Main Street. And I'd like to thank the press for certainly getting this word out to the public. We're launching on Main Street, South Ocean Avenue, and Railroad Avenue in the next few weeks. The parking meters will be installed. We will be having, we'll start it up, and this works well for us because that's the easiest to get used to on Main Street because it's pretty much the same from east to west. It'll give our shoppers and people who work in the village a chance to get to know our meter system and know the system. It also will give our enforcement officers a chance to get used to the system and learn it. Now, the first few weeks, there will be a grace period where we will not be handing out tickets. We'll be handing out warnings to people who park there over time. I expect that the press will cover this quite well as they have in the past. We're looking at spring to launch the parking meters in the parking lots. What we decided after the plan was expanded out to the other parking lots is that we're going to resurface all the parking lots that will have the parking meters. So Church Street, Oak Street, and parts of Terry Street will be resurfaced, all restriped. Jerry Giosa, our parking consultant, has looked at the parking lots and will be looking at restriping, and we believe that by restriping we will be able to get more parking spaces with reconfiguration of some of the parking areas. So when the meters come into the parking lots on the first day, people will drive in and they will see brand new resurfaced parking lots. The numbers will be crisp and clear, the lines will be crisp and clear. There'll be signs directing people to the right places. So expect that sometime in the springtime. And right now, one of the issues would be resurfacing now. It doesn't dry properly, and with leaves falling down, resurface, the leaves fall down, they get stuck in the black resurfacing material. So we decided to move it up to the springtime and launch it then. So the day is Tuesday, patch. I'll keep you up to date on all that's going on.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay.
I'd like to request approval to hire Cindy Bound to provide engineering services for the Oak Street rehabilitation at a cost not to exceed $39,900. The village will be reimbursed for the various roads grants.
How far down, just from North Ocean to the other side of 112?
Yeah,
This is a grant that we probably had now for 7 or 8 years, and we've just been working with the state trying to free the money up. It's changed from various roads to federal roads only, to which roads are eligible. I think we got it that much. So it should be, it's in tough shape anyway, but I think we'll be able to do curbs, sidewalks, and paving. So really to rehabilitate it a little bit. Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I'd like to request approval for Joe Dean, excuse me, Luke Garofalo and Pete Garafola, Pete Sarich, to take the New York State Builders Association Stormwater Management Training online 4-hour course at a cost not to exceed $299 per person.
That's like a mouth twister.
That is a tongue twister.
I did that on their course.
Thank you, Patty.
So roll call?
Sure. So it's an NYSBASNTO course.
Okay, Jody.
In honor of Jody.
Second.
All in favor? It's okay.
And I will take care of Joe Key's.
Well, you also have, you have those,
I don't know, Joe. Did you hear?
Had we approved it?
Yeah.
Oh, we did, okay.
Okay, we're just
Oh, we
waiting.
approved it, yeah, we
Yeah.
approved it. Okay, I was just.
No,
I
no, no,
spoke
no.
to the,
What's that?
I spoke to the yesterday.
Okay, they passed it first, thank you.
Waiting for the first.
I sent over the.
Oh, this Chris.
Oh, Chris.
He said Chris Capital.
Yeah,
No.
I was in contact with him today.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I sent over the bid packet, the insurance requirements, so they're putting it all together. They have to get to prevailing wage information as well.
Okay, will I have that done, do you think, by the end of the week?
I think they should, yeah.
Because I'd like to get it posted next week. That's been advertised.
We worked out the date that would be, yes, I believe, next.
Okay, I just want to push it,
Right.
push it, push it, push it.
Okay, I'll take care of Trustee Keys, who is.
Jack, you have those two other ones there.
Right here, right?
Yep.
This is for Joe Keys or me?
Well, it's, yeah,
under
it's-
me, okay.
yeah.
Okay, I'd like to request approval for the following employees to attend a free training class at Ingersoll Rand in Smithtown on Tuesday, 11/5. Joe Dean, Lou Garafola, Kerry Datz, Dominic Donato, and Scott Walsh. This is a training class at Ingersoll.
It's for
Rand.
locks.
It's the what?
It's for locks. It's a, should be on page, yeah.
Oh, Schley Cylinder Servicing.
Okay,
This is servicing locks.
I guess so.
Yes, so. Okay.
Motion? Second. Okay.
I'd like to request approval for a change order for the Railroad Avenue sewer replacement for work performed by ADJO in an, what?
As
Anybody want their mayor to read these? Read them anyway.
Just trying to help.
Yeah, but sometimes,
I got a little frog
I'm
in
a
my
little
throat.
concerned.
Don't let Carmen's River.
Yeah, too much Carmen's
Too
River.
much pressure.
ADJO in an amount not to exceed $7,249.60.
That was the motion. Yeah, they had some copy, they had written a motion. Second.
Second.
Favor?
I'd like to request approval to increase Paul Fuente's salary. Oh, we did that
Yes,
already.
he saw that, yeah.
Oh, you did.
Rather than help you with it.
That's right.
Just did it.
Didn't know they could.
Like this.
Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
Trustee Green.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of brief items, one of which was made mention by Dave a little while ago. We're looking for board approval for the Chamber of Commerce's Riverfront Committee to hold their annual Christmas boat parade on Sunday, November 24th at 6 p.m. So I'm not sure exactly where the staging areas will be. I'm sure they'll publicize them, but they're looking to host it at 6 p.m. on the 24th of November.
Motion.
It's a form of motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
They request barricades and,
Garbage bill?
Yes.
thank you, that's right. Was there anything else, Don?
Well, no, but we would like to cordially invite somebody to be a judge, if you so desire.
What is the staging areas?
Well, we're not sure, Finn's may be closed,
Right.
but certainly shore front,
Sandspit, right.
I nominate the people that aren't here.
Is that the form of a motion, Jen?
Yeah, that's the form of a motion.
No, second that one.
Second.
Aye.
So, Tom Firm, Joe Keys,
Brian Egan.
right, the judges.
But just if you would, let me know if we have a volunteer.
We just voted
We
on
just made them official.
I've done it.
Yeah. Just a couple of quick items to cover for Tom in his absence, one of which was to set a public hearing to amend section 336-4-A of chapter 336 of the village code. And has to do, I guess, with the rental laws of our code. So, is there any particular dates that you have in mind?
Well, we have one hearing on the 28th, it's a really simple special permit for 143 River Avenue.
The 28th, okay. So that'll be in the form of a motion for 10/28.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And second, public hearing is to amend chapter 162 of the village code to provide a procedure for removing and/or repairing unsafe structures. So, I guess that would be, we do that on the same day? Good thing? Okay, so we'll do it on the 28th as well. Full motion.
Second. All in favor? Okay.
And Marion is not here. I just wanted to, echo everybody's appreciation. I've been at a couple of co-ed meetings, and there is a great development of an organization there that's going to do some great works in the future. Just make it a lot simpler for people in the chaos of an emergency to follow certain steps to just ease everybody's stress and anxiety during the middle of an emergency. So she's been a tremendous resource and is heading up a great committee there. So I just wanted
That's
to.
new, just worked very hard on that.
Yeah, she's been volunteering a great deal of time as well, and I think they set a roadmap to really develop that program for the village and the whole south end of the Patchogue. So it's going to be also for any sort of snow, any sort of emergency, not just for hurricanes, right? So it's a great organization. So I just wanted to thank her publicly, and that's all I have to see.
But she's just the same.
You've been going to those meetings, Jerry?
Yeah, they've been good.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, they've had a good showing, from quite a variety of people from the state. And I'm looking forward to the 27th to really disseminate a lot of information for the New York Rising programs. It's a lot of services that are still needed.
Yeah.
Cool. Good. So.
Proceed then.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, trustees. Just a couple of quick things. I wanted to let everybody know that this Sunday at 2 p.m. Will be the installation of a sculpture behind the library called the Library of Battle. The sculpture was funded in part by the New York Foundation for the Arts and the Friends of the Library. And I don't know, did the bid have any part in that?
No, we did appropriate, I believe it was $1,500 toward
Right,
that.
because I know
I'm not quite sure if they,
Paula spearheaded it, so I thought that the
Yeah,
bid had some
yeah.
involvement, so some funds coming from the bid as well.
I don't know if they officially said they were going to use it, but it's there, they want it.
Oh, okay. I'll follow up. I know Paula's very good at that. And Paula spearheads public art for the Patchogue Arts Council as well, Paula Murphy. But the sculpture is being temporarily installed behind the library. This artist is John Sino, and he will be reading a poem or a story, I forget which, called The Library of Babel, on which the sculpture is based. At a later date, the sculpture will be relocated to the front of the Carnegie Library when the building is complete and all the landscaping is done. But for the time being, it will be behind the library. You'll be able to see where it is in the parking lot. So everybody is invited to the installation and reading, 2 p.m. this Sunday. What else? We have a new Mexican restaurant in town, Jalapeno, and Paul and I had a date the other night over some enchiladas on Friday night with some mariachi music. And
Yes.
I have to tell you, the food, because we go to Mexico every year, this food was really authentic. I mean, the salsa, the way it was presented, the guacamole, the corn tortillas, everything tasted fantastic. So I highly recommend Jalapeno. He said he won't have mariachi music, this was just for the ribbon cutting, but it's a family restaurant. Jose, have you been in? Yeah. Yeah, so,
It's Jose Benita, the gentleman
same guy
of,
from Bravo.
from Bravo, and it's, used to be a bar on Ryder Avenue.
I think it's a real improvement from what was on the property.
Vegan.
Yeah, it's pretty much across the street from where the Napa building used to be. So that's the landmark I use.
The smart,
People where it is.
the smart.
Yeah.
Then Jose Benita is a really good man. He really does a nice job.
Yeah, he does. He really cares. He's a really good guy. And then finally, we had a very successful fundraiser at the Patchogue Arts Council. It was the 3rd annual raccoon party, where we all made, you remember you won a piece of raccoon once. It's a way of firing pottery in fire with sawdust and water. It's this whole procedure, and there's an artist who brings his kiln. This year it was held at Lee Dorfman's house over on South Ocean Avenue. He owns the ironworks property across over our cliff, so we had a good showing, and a lot of people came and made pottery and glazed and hung out. And so Patchogue Arts Council is always looking to raise money, and it was another good event. Other than that, I have nothing else to announce today, so we're going to move on.
So, welcome back.
Thank you. Glad to be back.
The raccoon party, it went out, after you get the Arts Council's email blast. You got it? It was in budget. You guys should all get that, if you know, I'll get it on the email blast.
That'd be nice. I must get it.
You must get it,
Yeah.
everybody gets it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, for those of you who we voted midweek on a lot to have the Wounded Warrior 5K, November 23rd. Another time, I can't. It's earlier, I
They didn't know he like 8:39 o'clock.
Yeah, it's like
It's, I believe, 8:30, sign up.
Right. This should be a great race. You know, you're all familiar with the Wounded Warrior organization. Something that, to me, that's special about this race is we're using, for the very first time, our new 5K route that's in South Patchogue. Does not affect Main Street, has a minimum amount of road closings. Parking will be at Shorefront Park. We'll start and finish the races. I think it's a great use of this park, and it's a great running area. A lot of long straightaways, all the way up Bay, all the way down Ryder. So I think that it's going to be a great event and also a great trial run for the course that we've put together. That's November 23rd. And Mr. Mayor, I'd like to request approval to change the date of the previously approved Santa Toy Trot 5K from Saturday, December 7th to Sunday, December 8th. The state change has been cleared by the 5th precinct. That's a motion.
Second. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
That's on the 10th course, though, right?
Yeah, it's going to be the second race on that course, and I really thought that it was going to be tough to pull that race away from uptown. And a huge supporter of that race is the Brickhouse Brewery and Tom Keegan, and it's run by the Kiwanis. And I thought that it was very big of Tom to lose the potential beer sales, hamburger sales, to relocating it to Shorefront Park. So I thought that was tremendous. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to request approval to hire volleyball security for the adult Patchogue Parks and Recreation Adult Volleyball League. That's $7.25 an hour. It's an attached list.
Do you have to be Irish to be volleyball security?
You would think so.
Back and drive and drive in a car.
Is this
Like,
the
you never know. Yeah.
What's that? On the end? Yeah. That's a motion?
No.
What do they need security for?
The school requires,
Really?
yeah.
Jesus.
And if you're down there, you can't understand.
Yeah, I bet.
Excuse me?
No, we're Italian.
Look at that.
Oh my God, you're right.
Look at that.
Volleyball,
I second that, no.
There we go. Let's go for the Irish vote.
Yep.
Aye.
All in favor? Okay.
That's all I have tonight.
Public to be heard. Go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. John O'Brien, Knoxville Street. Series of quick questions. Carnegie Library.
What's that?
Carnegie Library, have you, has the village gotten ownership yet?
The county is, it's going through their legislative process right now. They haven't finished up the foundation at this point, so as soon as that all gets done, it'll happen. Whenever that process happens.
All right, so
It's just, it's more, I think, Chris, they're just moving through the steps. They have, what'll happen, John, believe it or not, when we get the paperwork, it'll be that big, about 37 signatures. It just, they make more of a project out of it, but it's the way the process goes with it.
All right, so there's about months before everything.
That, you know, it could be months or it could be tomorrow, believe it or not. It's one of those things that just, as they move along. There's nothing holding it up to stop anything from happening. In the sense that, I don't know if you noticed, but they're doing a lot of work on that foundation.
Yes.
So that, all that has to get done prior to anything else getting done.
Okay, that makes sense. Just two other quick questions and then a third, and then a last question. Patch readers have been asking about the JVC application. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Which one?
Is
On
the one, the new
85?
building that they're going to take over?
I don't know, have they put an application in yet? I don't think they've put an application in
Do they
yet.
have it?
I think they're still working on the deal with the owner of the property.
Oh, okay, well, that answers one.
Yeah, I don't think they've put an application.
And another patch reader asking about, does the village have Wi-Fi yet in the village itself?
No, we're working with Cablevision now. We're talking to them about trying to get down in the Parks area in particular. We're also up on Main Street.
Okay.
There are
But there should be
Hotspots
optimum
down.
hotspots,
Yeah.
but you need to be an optimum subscriber
For
to pick
optimum.
up the optimum
That
hotspot.
Shore Park has one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and if you're an optimum subscriber and you set up your device, then wherever you are, it picks it up. If you're within the
If
vicinity.
you're optimum.
Yes.
But
If you have a
another-
cable vision contract.
Yeah, you have to, if you have it in your home, that login, whatever login you use, to pay your bill, that you use that same login, the first time it picks it up, you log in, and then anytime with my phone, if I'm near an optimum hotspot, it'll revert to that rather than use the 3G.
Okay, so there's some capacity.
So it should be, because I picked it up in Patchogue in various places.
Yeah, I've gotten it Shore Park.
Depends where they are.
Sandspit has it.
Yeah.
And my last question, Thursday, the country faces default and I face
Oh, so was that again?
Thursday, the country faces default, where we're 2 days away from the country not being able to pay the bills.
Oh, right.
Right. At the same time,
I feel pretty good about our situation.
on a lesser level, I see that the Haunted Pirates Ferry ride is full sail ahead for Thursday as well, and that's the beginning of 3 weeks of various activities. The last time I was here, there seemed to be some questions about all that. That seems to all been resolved.
Yeah, I think so, Mark. It's resolved in the sense that it's going to go forward and we'll manage it how we have to manage it with all the safety we need be.
Right, we had a meeting with the owner of the property and our fire inspector, fire marshal, and the owner's lawyer. We did not address any of the tickets that had been written against the property owner. But our primary concern was that even though there was not an event permit for an event of that type, there was a fire lane issue that the owner had not established a fire lane through this property from Waterfront to River Avenue. And we felt that we were jeopardizing people that were coming to his event in allowing him to do so without having a fire lane. There's not much that we can do to force him to do everything that the courts have asked him to do as far as the non-safety issues, other than spend buckets of more money to fight it, which I'm sure eventually will have to be done. But our primary concern was the safety of the people that will be on the property. So what he's doing is he's meeting with the fire marshal, Chief Perry from the Patchogue Fire Department, and they're going to line out the fire lane, being that he hasn't done it the way Chief Perry wants it, and he's going to have to put in hard signage to indicate where that fire lane is going to be. We also addressed the capacity of how many people he's allowed to have on that property, and indicated to him when he had reached that capacity that we were going to take action, taking into consideration the safety issue as well.
Action that day, or later on.
That day.
That day, yeah. That we were going to have people on site to make sure that he did receive it.
So Social Public Safety will be available to make sure that happens.
I'm glad to hear. He said that, well, I'm most glad to hear, but that the fence on Knoxon Street is not finished, but there is curbing to prevent cars from going through.
I guess, okay, so you can look at that, the wood is curbing, that's not concrete curbing.
Oh, it's not?
No.
It's what curbing?
Wood.
Also railroad ties?
Yeah, of that column, I think railroad ties might even be stronger than what he actually has.
So he's landscape.
Yes, right. Can I also say, are the fire lanes are supposed to come in, are people be able to see them? Because I don't see any looking out my window. And we're less than 2 days away from the event. Unless they're invisible, then I just missed them.
Billy, we'll check with Peter.
Yeah. Because of the nature of the substrate, they're not going to be able to spray, fire lanes.
Okay.
That's why we came up with the signage.
But there's nothing there.
Okay.
There's nothing there.
Right,
Unless,
that.
that's what I'm not being
No,
facetious.
No,
I don't see it.
I'm glad you told me this. I had been back to Maine,
Billy's been gone for 5 days.
7 days. I haven't been able to do it. I have an illness in the family, so.
Okay.
But I'm glad you told me that because actually I was going to follow up on it.
Because that's from, I'm here for many reasons. I was curious as to what's been happening because I look across the street and I see no activity of any difference
Right.
since my last appearance here 2 weeks ago.
Right.
So, all right. I'm hopeful that maybe these will be the adequate controls. They are health and safety related. They're all important. We have to have fire lanes. There's a sign here that says overcapacity. It is unlawful. And I guess that point has to be made that he understands that that's the case. Unlawful 150 beyond is against the law, period, for any person, including himself. And as for other traffic controls, I'm just going to point out, the amount I've been told, they're bringing 100 people per ferry trip, starting in night hours, starting at 6 o'clock. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe up to 11. That's nighttime hours. Access to that club, River Avenue during the night is going to be kind of an issue maybe with the traffic. That's another concern I have too. Not just cutting off my house, but people.
No, I have the same concern. That was been argued through the whole thing. Is it, how are you going to guarantee numbers?
Well, we determined that the point that spills out into the road, because of the amount of parking spots he has, and the amount that are going to be taken up by the fire lane that we have been forced to put in, not him,
Okay.
that at the point that the traffic spills out into the road, he's gonna be over capacity.
Okay. All right, so I guess we'll see, you know, I don't have a crystal ball, this is a new event, we'll see what happens. It could be a lot of people, it could be a few people, God knows, we'll see what occurs. But it sounds like we have some kind of plan, and that's all I've ever asked for. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Motion to adjourn? Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Hit that button.